Hello, I'm Jenny Burak. I am an astrologer and a theta healing instructor. I work with the energy of Archangel Metatron, and I'm going to speak a little bit today before we get started with the week about Saturn retrograde. Metatron had a few things to say about that. So I just wanted to point out, we've got all of these planets, first of all, in Aries still and in Capricorn. So that's a lot of fire and a lot of earth, a lot of like angry, feisty ambition, and it can cause like tempers to flare. It's a little bit better now that Mercury's out of retrograde, but Mars meeting up with Pluto, those two planets being war and then death and destruction in their lower energies, you know, can still have us feeling a lot of tension. And right now on Sunday, we've got Saturn starting to move backward today and Pluto stationary retrograde. When planets station, that's when we feel their energy. It's the most intense. So we're all feeling that. It's out there in the collective, no matter what is happening in your own natal chart. That's just the overall energies. But we've got Jupiter and Scorpio answering to Mars and Pluto, who are answering to Saturn. And we've got Chiron, Mercury, and Uranus in Aries answering to Mars, who was also answering to Saturn. We've got Neptune in Pisces in his own sign, Venus for now in Taurus in her own sign, the sun answering to her. And so those planets aren't involved in that, but the rest of these, all of these planets are all answering to Saturn. And Saturn has just started to move backward today. On Sunday is the first time that he's actually going to make a little bit of a move off of that 9-degree and 9-minute mark in Capricorn. And so Metatron was talking about this being now through September 6th, while Saturn's retrograde, this being a time of refinement. Saturn rules kings and kingdoms, and now he's perched in his own sign of the sign that represents ultimate authority, prestige, leadership, how we're governed, who is governing us, who we give away our power to, who we're subject to. With him moving backward now, there's going to be kings and kingdoms brought into a place of integrity. Saturn is also about honesty, integrity, and how we rule situations and circumstances in our own life. Who governs us? Who governs us as individuals, not just as the overlying, you know, the government of the country where we live, but who governs like what happens or how we make decisions? Do we have to go to someone to ask permission? Do we own our personal power? And if not, with Pluto in retrograde also answering to Saturn, and then Mars, individuation, the self, Aries, with those energies answering to Saturn, there will be some sort of movement and or action taken to put you into a place, a transformation then of power. And this will speak not just to us individually, this is going to speak to, as he said, kings and kingdoms. So as I mentioned before, Mars is going to hit some very important points in the chart of the United States during his retrograde, which will be, it'll end in July, and coming up, you know what, I don't remember exactly the date that it's coming up. But the point is that during this time, this period going through September 6th, Pluto and Mars will both move forward and backward, answering to Saturn the entire time. Saturn is the ancient ruler of Aquarius. So when Mars is in Aquarius before he begins, and when he begins his retrograde, he's answering to Uranus, who has been answering to him for the past 8 years. And Uranus is about change and can be sudden destruction. When we're looking at all of these energies as viewing them all from the aspect that they're all answering to Saturn, and they're all being fed to Saturn, all of these energies. And Saturn is going back over things that have taken place in our own lives since the beginning of January, and then also collectively, things that have gone on since the beginning of January. And Saturn is known, you know, the ancients called him the Lord of Karma. He will right the wrongs and bring in the structure and the foundations, even if it means, he's saying, laying new foundations. And for some of you, he's saying this will be a great surprise, things that might happen to you individually. But it's a time of honing our character, rooting out integrity, putting us into a place of integrity. Those that have been stripped of power, personal power, and then as, you know, countries as a whole, or where things have been done to wrong the earth, let's say, all of those things are about to change. This is a huge time. I'm not like getting specific dates, but I know roughly, like we're talking for those in the Northern Hemisphere, the summer months, a lot of things are going to shift. So he was also talking about, you know, that these are times that it's important for us to like take deep breaths, like take the breath all the way down into your root chakra, because that will help you to quell the fear. Like, all of us are like holding our collective breath, is what he said. And we need to just remember to inhale, exhale, and just remember that we're being held by spirit, that nothing is going to happen on the planet that is a surprise to spirit, is what he's saying. So these are also very exciting times. It's time of great change. Yes, it's a time of uncertainty. Yes. But he's saying, think of it like a roller coaster, like a thrill ride is what he's saying. He's showing me a roller coaster. So and then also he was saying, you know, a couple of weeks ago, and he brought it up again today, that our souls didn't just want to be here at this time. I mean, it's free will planet. We're never here unless we've chosen to be here. We never have things go on that we didn't choose to participate in, but that we were insistent that we be here now for these times. So that's what I have to say about that. And Metatron then we just went through the week. So we're going to get to that. Also, Mars this week will come into a conjunction with Pluto. So we're starting to feel that a little bit on Sunday. And then Mercury is not out of shadow yet. So we're going back this week, starting Sunday, to things that went on like March 10th forward. We're revising and, you know, reviewing things so like if there was something with paperwork, or it could be anything, like you bought something and you're returning it, that kind of stuff could be playing out with Mercury coming back out of shadow. So the moon Sunday is in Cancer, sextile Venus and squaring Uranus before moving into Leo. And this is like a gentle push forward with these energies. It's a very gentle, because you've got the moon sextiling Venus. So that's a nice feminine, sweet energy with Venus in her home of Taurus. And then squaring Uranus and fire, that's the push forward. On Monday, the 23rd, Mars will come up to Pluto, not quite in an exact conjunction, but this is when we're going to bring action to the seeds that have been planted since this Jupiter sextile Pluto energy started. That'll be Monday and Tuesday. So again, Jupiter in that sextile to Pluto, that's a very fertile energy. And Jupiter now in retrograde, Jupiter brings us opportunities for gains. And Jupiter in retrograde is bringing back opportunities possibly. It depends on, you know, what kind of opportunities, depends on your own personal natal chart, but it'll be opportunities coming back and ways to plant seeds for the future. And these will be like firmly planted. Pluto rules like the things that go on deep in the ground. He's in Capricorn, answering to Saturn. That's like, Saturn is like permanent, like structures that we think of as, you know, we're able to count on. So a foundationing. And Jupiter in Scorpio, water, answering to Pluto, So Mars coming up to that, you know, it's not just all, you know, well, I don't want to say even doom and gloom because it's not really doom and gloom, but it isn't like all negative. All of the planets have the higher energy and the lower energy. So if you're looking at this personally, then this is a time that you're going to bring action, like a move. It's a move forward. So that's Monday and Tuesday. And I wanted to mention too, with Mars, everyone was talking about like when we bombed Syria, Mars was right between at 15 degrees of Capricorn. He was sandwiched between Saturn and Pluto when that bombing happened. But he was also on the fixed star Vega. And Vega was called the Queen of Life. Vega has a blue energy, much like Mother Mary, the Queen of the Angels. And the Babylonians referred to her as the Queen of Life because Vega has a few different names. But that wasn't such a, you know, horrific thing. Like, we didn't accidentally bomb a hospital. Like, you know, it's happened many times. And we didn't accidentally blow up a neighborhood trying to get one terrorist. But we did get the weapons manufacturer. So I really felt like that was something that was, you know, had the blessing of spirit with being on the fixed star Vega. And Tuesday, the 24th, the moon will trine Uranus and square Venus. So that can be like a very passionate energy. It's also pretty volatile. And it's a day that we're like without limits or restrictions. We don't have a whole lot of limitations. Venus will move into Gemini on Tuesday. Finally, there will be a planet in an air sign. It has been so long since there's been a planet in an air sign. Just going back in my mind, I can't remember when there was a planet in an air sign last. So that made it difficult for us to find the words, especially, you know, during this Mercury retrograde. It was just a whole lot of pent up like frustration. But this is a great move for Venus going into Gemini, even though she's leaving Taurus, still Gemini. Then too, by the way, she will be answering to Mercury, and then Mercury answering to Mars, answering to Saturn. So she's in a way, roundabout way, answering to Saturn herself. Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have the same energy pretty much. Mercury will square Saturn. Mars will move exact into his conjunction with Pluto. The moon will be in Virgo, so this can be a lot of like an angry, aggressive energy, but we can channel that into like a new fitness regimen with the moon in Virgo, implement changes in our diet, purging closets. It's a great thing to do that day, and organize, and then bring strategy to the actions that you're taking. It's a good day for like strategic thinking, like how exactly is this going to work out and what could I do to move that forward. So that'll be Wednesday and Thursday, basically working with the same energy those days. Friday, the moon in Libra will trine Venus in Gemini, again, 2 air signs. So Friday will be, we're still going to have the Mars-Pluto aspect happening, but Mars will move a little bit ahead of Pluto, and Pluto will start to move then backward just a little bit again. So we're still kind of feeling it, but anytime the planets are coming into the conjunction, moving up to meet one another, that's when you feel it the most. And then with those 2 air, you know, with Libra and Gemini, Venus and the moon, and then Mercury moving out of his square to Saturn, this will be like a relief. It'll be like a releasing kind of energy. And then on Saturday, the 28th, we've got the sun moving in to make a trine with Saturn, and this will be about building the dream then on Saturday. And then also with that Jupiter retrograde answering to Pluto as Pluto is moving retrograde, that points to really a shift in governing, or shift in power, however you want to look at that personally, or, you know, if we're talking about someone in government. I said government, I wrote down power, so I don't know. But yeah, that points a lot to shift in power. So we'll see what happens with that. And then on the 28th, we're still going, or I'm sorry, the 29th, Sunday, we'll still be working with that Sun trine Saturn energy, and we'll have that full moon, which is in Scorpio. The moon will be close to Jupiter. Jupiter blows things up and makes them even bigger. And, you know, Scorpio is about deep psychological trauma. So it's a very emotional moon. A lot of people get bothered just when the moon is going through Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio sun. It doesn't faze me. But it's also answering then, because it's in Scorpio, it will be answering to Mars and Pluto, who are together in Capricorn. So that'll be on the next video I do will be about that full moon, and then the following week, next week. So building up to that full moon, this week is so intense. It's extremely intense. Like last week was intense. This week, it's actually more intense because, you know, we've got Saturn now a full swing retrograde. Pluto will go into full swing retrograde. And there's just, you can just see, like he's showing me, a shift. So anyway, take care, everyone. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, and enjoy your week. I'll get that full moon video out in the next couple of days. Namaste.